coming up on this edition of Southwest TV News. Computer screens and cell phones are a favorite pastime for many. And with cases of obesity on the rise, experts are advising you to limit your screen time and get more active as a family. Throughout the year, the SPCA relies on donations from the community to keep its doors open. And in 2019, an additional round of fundraising will take place for the Hope Fund, focusing on pets who have suffered severe neglect or health issues. The Swift Current Museum welcomes guests to its Lunch and Learn series for a noon-hour presentation on various historical topics of the region. The January edition featured Barb Parchman, a local historian and Metis descendant. Barb spoke to the crowd about the history of the Metis in Southwest Saskatchewan and that of her family in the Lac-Pelche area. Thanks for joining us here today. Rather than hibernating indoors throughout the winter season, Sask in Motion has some ideas to keep youth active. Computer screens and cell phones are a favorite pastime for many. And with cases of obesity on the rise, experts are advising you to limit your screen time and get more active as a family.
What we know is that on average, kids are spending 7 to 8 hours a day on screen. So that's a lot of time, and screen time is actually one of the biggest barriers to getting kids active these days. But we think there's really an easy solution, and that is that if kids get 30 minutes of physical activity at home, 30 minutes at school, and 30 minutes in the community, they're getting their 60 to 90 minutes of physical activity most days.
A good starting point is to swap out 20 minutes of screen time for 30 minutes of active time per day. And the more it becomes a family activity, the better for everyone. More ideas on adopting an active lifestyle are available online at saskatchewaninmotion.ca. "2019 will be another busy year of fundraising for the Swift Current SPCA, including efforts for the Hope Fund. The Swift Current SPCA provides a valuable service each day, providing shelter to abandoned pets, while acting as a bridge to acquiring a new forever home. Throughout the year, the SPCA relies on donations from the community to keep its doors open. And in 2019, an additional round of fundraising will take place for the Hope Fund, focusing on pets who have suffered severe neglect or health issues.
It can make the world of difference. We saw with the little dog Paris that we helped in 2018. She came to us as a stray that was found just in the ditch by the highway. Came in. We did have to do quite a bit of dental work with her, as well as an emergency spay and a few other issues. But we're so pleased now that she not only recovered, but she landed with a wonderful family. So it's really heartwarming to see what those dollars can do for a pet like that.
Cole adds that they hope to raise at least $5,000 for the Hope Fund in the coming weeks through a number of fundraising evenings.
So Wing Night will be January 29th. It's a Tuesday evening. Tickets are just $20. It's a come-and-go kind of evening. Come in, grab a pound of wings and a pint, and part of the ticket price goes to our Hope Fund, plus we'll have a little raffle that night as well. The paint night is the 4th of February at Houston Pizza, and there's still some tickets available for that, so that's always a fun night to come out. And it actually is an all-ages paint night, which means you can bring children from 6 up, as long as they have a guardian with them. Fun little picture of an otter to paint this time, so something good for everybody. And it's always a neat night. So yeah, those two events, and then watch for more details on the 19 for 19 campaign coming up in February.
Anyone interested in making a donation to the Hope Fund can contact the Swift Current SPCA or drop by the shelter during its regular business hours. Métis culture in Southwest Saskatchewan was the focus of a special presentation at the Swift Current Museum. We find out more in this report. The Swift Current Museum welcomes guests to its Lunch and Learn series for a noon-hour presentation on various historical topics of the region. The January edition featured Barb Parchman, a local historian and Métis descendant. Barb spoke to the crowd about the history of the Métis in Southwest Saskatchewan and that of her family in the Lac-Pelche area.
My great-grandmother Ursula, her father Jean-Baptiste Trottier, was a freighter and had a contract to freight goods from Havre, Montana to Battleford, Saskatchewan. When great-grandma was 12 years old, she was asked to drive one of these carts on the trek. And she talks about the harrowing experience she had doing that. And especially the biggest challenge for her was the big hills at the river crossings. And so the big hill at Little Muddy in the White Mud Valley and the South Saskatchewan River crossing and the North Saskatchewan River at Battleford. And she talks about her fear of going down the hills and how she would close her eyes and cry all the way down.
A presentation which the Swift Current Museum was pleased to host, as its mandate is to offer a window to the history of Southwest Saskatchewan.
I think that there's a common belief within, like growing up and going to school, people thought the Canadian history was boring. They were more excited by things like battles and wars, and that's more conducive to what was going on in the United States. But having said all that, more attention is driven to interests within what happened in the U.S. as opposed to Canada. It was a more violent experience. In our experience here, if you look at the Métis, for example, they were, Canadian society and the fur trade and the transportation methods and they were dependent upon Métis trappers and traders, and they had to work together to sort of reach the same conclusion.
Along with sharing her personal story during public and other school presentations, Barb hopes to keep the history of the Métis top of mind for future generations through a special project.
My long-term plan for the full-size cart is to have it at the Battleford Trail Ruts Municipal Heritage Site inside an interpretive center that has display panels that talks about the local Métis history, the history of the Battleford Trail and their connection to the Métis, and the Red River Cart. The site right now doesn't have a Red River Cart on it. It does have some local people had donated a grain wagon several years ago, and that grain wagon is sitting at the site. I would like to have a Red River Cart there, as that's what that trail was significant about. And when I talk to people now about that site, they always mention that cart and they think it's a Red River Cart. So it's really important for me to get an actual Red River Cart at the site so people can have an idea about that history and make that connection with the cart and the trail.
As the planning for a Métis Interpretive Centre continues to take shape in Swift Current, an in-depth look into the history of the Métis and the story of Barb Parchman's family at Lac-Pelche can be viewed online in conjunction with the Stories of the Great Southwest series. Well, this brings to a close another episode of Southwest TV News, reporting the stories that matter to you. We always welcome your news tips. You can always reach us here by phone at our studio or by email to contact us at southwesttvnews.com. Also, be sure to join us daily online for the latest news from across Southwest Saskatchewan and so much more at southwesttvnews.com. And be sure to follow us on a range of social media. Thanks for joining us here today. I'm Carol Andrews.